A public California university is now tracking and making records of any opposition made to critical race theory.
A team at the University of California, Los Angeles has created a national database to, quote, track attacks on critical race theory. UCLA's Critical Race Studies program, part of the university's School of Law, developed the database titled the CRT Forward Tracking Project. Program researchers have screened 24,000 media articles since August 2021, counting 479 instances of anti-CRT activity. According to the data, most anti-CRT proposals have occurred in Florida, Virginia, Missouri, and the U.S. Congress. More than 20% of the recorded activity happened on the local school board level. Californians have used 5 out of the 8 proposed anti-CRT enforcement measures to push back on CRT at local schools. One instance was when the Placentia Yorba Linda School Board voted to ban the teaching of CRT in classrooms in April, ending months of debate in the Orange County District. Supporters of the ban said CRT is a divisive ideology that pushes a political narrative. But the UCLA program says that opponents are using the term CRT incorrectly. The school defines CRT as, quote, the study of systemic racism in law, policy, and society. Project Director Taifa Natalie Alexander said in a statement the project was created to help people understand the breadth of the attacks on the ability to speak truthfully about race and racism through the campaigns against CRT. Critics say CRT pushes a worldview founded in Marxism, analyzing all aspects of life through a modernized lens of racism rather than the dated concept of class struggle. The UCLA project is funded by a $400,000 grant from the Lumina Foundation, a private Indianapolis-based foundation with about $1.4 billion in assets, according to the nonprofit's website. Daniel Hall, NTD News, California.
California universities are striving to have more and more diversity on campus. This applies to both students admitted and faculty. One lawyer says it could lead to more division.
University faculty may be facing new types of segregation. That's according to Daniel Ortner, a lawyer at the Pacific Legal Foundation. He explained to California Insider's Siamak Karami diversity statements, which are required on college campuses, would group people by identity rather than treating them as individuals.
So it's requiring faculty to really pledge their allegiance to ideas regarding diversity, equity, and inclusion that are, politically toxic, politically divisive ideas regarding race, regarding equity. The idea that you need to treat students differently based on their race. Ultimately, in order to give some students a leg up, you need to treat people differently and divide them based on their race. That's the core of this DEI idea.
DEI stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion. Ortner says many universities have a rubric that looks for how a person expresses their awareness of race issues.
If you say what Chief Justice Roberts of the U.S. Supreme Court said, that the way to stop discriminating on the basis of race is to stop discriminating on the basis of race. Something simple like that. If you express a belief in color blindness, that everyone should be treated equally, you're going to get a low score and you're not going to get hired.
Ortner says many UC schools have been doing pilot testing where they only looked at diversity statements when hiring. If faculty did not get a good score, they would not be looked at for anything else.
You could be a Nobel laureate. You could be, have a theory to cure cancer. You could be Albert Einstein. It doesn't matter who you are, what your research is, you're not going to get looked at. You're going to get passed over if you don't have a good diversity statement. And so that, I think, is really frightening. It means, they're not looking for the best quality talent. They're looking for those that are most in line ideologically with the mission, with this mission of DEI.
Those who speak out with an opposing opinion or who are not in line with the school's ideas are often targeted for investigation.
There's a professor that I've spoken to out in Florida, for instance, at UCF, Charles Nagy, who, because he made a tweet criticizing the Black Lives Matter movement and criticizing some of the anti-racism efforts, he was interrogated for 9 hours by bureaucrats at the university. They asked him about every single statement he'd ever made in a classroom for 15 years in order to find a reason to fire him.
Ortner has been involved with multiple lawsuits surrounding diversity of thought on college campuses in California. According to Ortner, this hiring process will eliminate diverse thoughts among staff, and as a result, students would not be challenged with new ideas.
For students who are heading back to public school, there are few changes that many of them can expect. Those include a lot of free food and later morning bells.
California public schools are seeing two big changes as the fall semester begins across the state. Both middle and high schoolers will start the day later, and all public schools will now provide free breakfast and lunch to all students. Under the Universal Meals Program, California is the first state to launch a statewide meal program. Food will now be prepared for about 6 million public school students. The change to lunches comes after Governor Gavin Newsom signed Assembly Bill 130 in July 2021. A budget report released right before he gave his signature expected the program to cost $650 million annually. Any costs not covered by federal reimbursements will fall to California taxpayers. In addition to free food, middle and high schoolers will start their days later than before. Public high schools can now no longer start class before 8:30 a.m. and middle schools 8 a.m. A 2014 study by the American Academy of Pediatrics recommended 8.5 to 9.5 hours of sleep for teenagers, citing health concerns. Newsom signed the change into law back in October 2019. A similar bill was vetoed in 2018 by former Governor Jerry Brown and received opposition from both the California Teachers Association and California School Board Association. A spokesman for the school boards said the change has led to a wide range of scheduling conflicts and listed that one solution is more spending on transportation services.
When times are tight, giving gets a little bit harder. That's what the head of the food bank in Orange County told NTD's Jackie Rios. She heard about how they are weathering the recent spike in inflation.
With inflation at its highest rate in several decades, coupled with supply chain issues, the cost of necessities are up, and our food banks are impacted. We spoke with a representative at the OC Food Bank, which feeds families, children, and seniors, to see how they're managing during these challenging times. The food bank's president and CEO, Gregory Scott, said that although Orange County is a place of both influence and affluence, there are still pockets of families who are struggling. The OC Food Bank is one of many programs run by Community Action Partnership, or CAP, of Orange County, with its mission to address hunger and food insecurities.
One of the ways I like to put in perspective, if we think 2019, in 2019, we did 23 million pounds of food. In 2020, once the pandemic hit and once COVID hit, we did 63 million pounds of food. So we almost tripled it in 1 year. In 2021, we did 41 million pounds of food. We also go through about 540,000 pounds of food every single week. And so again, so far this year, we've done 13 million pounds of food that's gone out to the community.
But things are not so easy now. Scott said inflation and supply chain issues in the country have been affecting their ability to provide food.
Now we're finding ourselves where we have to purchase 50% of the food that we've been getting. That's very different than 2 years ago, even a year ago, where now we are using our own dollars to go out there and purchase food so we can continue at the level that we want to really make a difference in the community.
One food product in short supply is baby formula. But even though it's the second highest requested item the OC Food Bank gets, they don't provide it. Instead, the OC Food Bank will refer out to their sister organizations. But one baby necessity that OC Food Bank does provide isn't food at all, it's diapers.
We do have diapers. We do have a major diaper bank. We're one of 5 food banks that also have a diaper bank throughout the country.
Like most nonprofits, the OC Food Bank not only relies on donations, but also on people donating their time through volunteering. Abraham Aguirre volunteers Monday through Saturdays from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. and has his family volunteer on Saturdays.
We need help every single day, all week. So I invite to the whole community to come and help.
Ending hunger is a lofty goal made even more difficult during tough economic times, but the OC Food Bank continues to do all they can to provide food and more to Orange County residents who need a little extra help. Jackie Rios, NTD News, California.